Hello friends, welcome back to Learning Nails and Aesthetics. We are on page 324 in the Milady Nails book, chapter 11, Monomer Liquid and Polymer Powder Nail Enhancements. Keep in mind, I am not AI, so mistakes will be made. Also check out my other videos of the Milady Aesthetics book, as well as the Milady Foundations book, which is a companion book to that one, as well as this one. Then there's some unboxing and just some goofing around, I guess. I've only been doing this for a few months at the time of this recording, so some of my videos are better than others. If you find something that you don't like, maybe you'll come across something that you do like. So I'd appreciate you sticking around. That'd be great. Comment, like, share, and subscribe. Let's begin. We're going to start with the Did You Know on the left of this page, page 224. The manufacturer's instructions for using monomer liquids and polymer powder nail enhancement products may differ slightly from the general guidelines presented in this chapter. You should always follow the manufacturer's instructions for the products you are using. If you are in doubt about how to use the product, contact the manufacturer. Identify the supplies for liquid and powder nail enhancement services. Just as every type of nail enhancement service requires specific tools, implements, equipment, and supplies, so do liquid and powder nail enhancements. And figure 11-1 shows a picture, supplies needed for liquid and powder nail enhancement applications. And it has various bottles and containers and a file and a buffer and things. In addition to the supplies in your basic manicuring setup, you will need monomer liquid. The monomer liquid will be combined with polymer powder to form the nail enhancement. The amount of monomer liquid and polymer powder used to create a bead is called the mix ratio. A bead mix ratio can be best described as dry, medium, or wet. If equal amounts of liquid and powder are used to create the bead, it is called a dry bead. Dry beads can be difficult to press into place and will usually contain many air bubbles. If twice as much liquid as powder is used to create the bead, it is called a wet bead. Halfway between these two is a medium bead, which contains 1.5 more liquid than powder. In general, medium beads are the ideal mix ratio for working with monomer liquid and polymer powders. The perfect bead will be round and shiny when placed on a form. It will settle, but not run. The mix ratio typically ensures proper set and maximum durability of the nail enhancement. For example, if too much flour is added when making cookies, the cookies will be dry and crumbly. Too little flour will make the cookies soft and gooey. The same holds true for monomer liquid and polymer powders. If too much powder is picked up in the bead, the enhancement will cure incorrectly and may lead to brittle or discoloration. May lead to brittleness and or discoloration. If too little powder is used, the nail enhancement can become weak, and the risk of clients developing skin irritation and sensitivity may increase. Polymer powder. Polymer powders are available in large containers of traditional pink, white, natural, and clear. However, they are also available in a wide range of colors that mimic almost every shade available in nail polish. Nail artistry with colored polymer powder is limited only by your imagination. Some nail professionals use colors to go beyond the traditional pink and white French manicure combinations and offer custom blended colors to their clients. They maintain recipe cards so that they can reproduce customized nail enhancements that clients cannot get from anyone else. As with all customized techniques, clients are willing to pay more for these special services. See more on using colored powders in Chapter 13, Nail Art, which I will be doing in future videos, but I have not recorded it as of yet. Maybe today or tomorrow. So look for that. Nail primer. Nail primer is used on the natural nail prior to product application to assist in adhesion. There are basically two kinds of nail primers for preparing the natural nail for a liquid and powder nail enhancement: acid-based and non-acid-based, acid-free primers. All nail primer products must be used with caution and strictly in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Skin contact must be avoided during the application, and the SDS sheet should be referenced for safe handling recommendations and specific instructions when using these products. At one time, acid-based nail primer methacrylate acid was the only primer available to the nail industry to adhere enhancements to the natural nail. The acid in the primer chemically etches the surface of the nail so that the keratin layers are open, clean, and dry to receive the product. When the primer dries, a chalky white methacrylate residue residue is attached to the keratin and aids in the bond of the monomers on the nail. Since acid-based nail primer is corrosive to the skin and potentially dangerous to the eyes, acid-free or non-acid primers were developed. These acid-free alternatives work as well or better than acid-based nail primers and have the added advantage of not being corrosive to the skin or eyes. Acid-free primer chemically bonds the enhancement product to the natural nail. One end of the primer molecule chemically bonds to the nail protein in the natural nail. The other end of the molecule is a methacrylate, so it bonds to the monomer liquid as it cures. Think of this as two-sided sticky tape. To apply acid-based and acid-free nail primer, insert the applicator brush into the nail primer. Prepare the brush by touching the brush tip to the edge of the bottle's neck to release the excess primer back into the bottle. Using a light dotting action, dab the brush tip to the prepared natural nail and let the liquid completely cover the nail plate with the primer. Do not use too much product. It will run onto the skin and cause skin irritation or sensitivity. The brush should hold enough primer to prepare 2 or 3 nails. Wipe the brush on a lint-free towel before dipping it back into the container. You do not want to contaminate the bottle with any debris that the brush may have picked up. Check your nail primer for clarity to ensure that it does not become contaminated with nail dust and other floating debris. This can dramatically reduce the primer's effectiveness and should be discarded if it is visibly contaminated. Allow all nail primers to dry thoroughly. Acid-based nail primer will dry to a chalky white. Acid-free primer will dry to a shiny, sticky surface. Never apply nail enhancement products over wet nail primer. This can cause product discoloration and service breakdown. And of course, the red square with the caution and the exclamation mark. Acid-based nail primers are very effective but can cause serious and sometimes irreversible damage to the skin and eyes. Never use acid-based nail primer or any other corrosive material without wearing protective gloves and safety eyewear. Nail primer should always be applied to the nail only once and only to the natural nail. Avoid putting nail primer on plastic nail tips as it can cause the tip to melt, become brittle, and break down the adhesive used to attach the tip to the natural nail. Be sure to always read the label for the manufacturer's suggested application, procedures, and precautions. So I'd like to throw in, since they mentioned about the primer damaging the plastic nail tip, I have seen a lot of people on YouTube talk about that's how they prep the nail tip. And that's a bad idea. Yeah, so don't do that. You can file it a little bit. That's the way to prep it, not with a primer. Moving on. Abrasives. The term abrasive is used to describe nail files and buffers. Although some abrasives have fancy names, they all have a grit number. Grit refers to how many grains of sand are on the file per square inch. For example, if there were 100 grits of sand per square inch, then the particles would be spread apart, creating a rough surface. If there were 240, the sand particles would be closer together, creating a smoother surface. So you now understand that the lower the number, the rougher the abrasive will be. The higher the number, the softer it will be. Be aware that the different abrasive core materials will also change how an abrasive works. Plastic and wood cores are used for files, and plastic sponge core are used in buffers. The wood will make the abrasive more aggressive, whereas the sponge core will form around the nail and therefore be gentle. Here's a list of the most common abrasives used for filing, shaping, and buffing nail enhancements. Then we have figure 11-2 says assortment of various buffers and abrasives needed for liquid and powder nail enhancements. A coarse grit file, 100 grit or lower, is strong enough to thin the enhancement product to prepare it for a refill or rebalance. Avoid using coarser, lower grit abrasives or aggressive techniques on freshly applied enhancement products. This can damage the soft, freshly created nail enhancement and also create a heavy vibration that causes lifting. Lifting is a term used when artificial products lift up or pull away from the nail. A medium grit file, 150 to 180 grit, is used for the initial shaping of the perimeter of the nail, refining the overall surface shape of a nail enhancement, or for smoothing the surface before buffing. If you avoid putting the product on too thick, 180 grit is usually strong enough to shape the entire nail enhancement. A fine grit file, 240 grit or higher, is used for refining and finish filing. This file is also used to shape the free edge of the natural nail. Buffers also come in grits between 100 and 400. These buffers are used to remove the scratches in the surface of the nail the files have created. Once the filing is finished, you can start with a low grit buffer, such as 100 grit, to smooth the nail and continue to graduate to higher grit buffers until the desired smoothness is achieved. A shiner is a buffer, usually 400, 1000, 4000, used to create a high shine on a natural nail or a nail enhancement when no polish will be worn. This buffer usually has 2 to 3 sides. Buff the entire nail surface with the longest back her up. Buff the entire nail surface with the lowest grit side first, and then repeat with the other sides to give a glossy shine to the nail. In order to achieve the best shine, be sure to remove all the scratches from the enhancement before using a shiner. Start with a 100 grit buffer and graduate to a higher numbered buffer until the scratches are gone. The shiner buffer will create a brilliance that rivals any top coat. Nail tips and forms. Nail tips or forms may be used if the guest would like to extend the length of the nails. Nail tips and are performed Nail tips are performed plastic nail extensions that can be attached to the nail with an adhesive to create length before overlaying with liquid and powder. Nail forms are placed under the free edge of the natural nail and used as a foundation and guide to sculpt liquid and powder beyond the fingertip to create length. Learn more about the nail forms and tips and how to apply them in Chapter 9, Nail Tips and Forms, which I have videos on, so check that out. Dappen dish. A Dappen dish is a small glass or plastic container that holds a minimal amount of product for one service use. These dishes usually have a narrow opening to minimize the evaporation of liquids into the air. Open mouth jars or other containers with large openings can dramatically increase evaporation and allow liquids and powders to be contaminated with dust and other debris. A Dappen dish should have a lid so the product can be covered when not in use. Each time the brush is dipped into the Dappen dish of monomer, it is contaminated with small amounts of polymer powder. So always discard unused portion after the service. Why do I keep mumbling and sounding like surface? Service. Never pour the unused portion of monomer liquid back into the original container. After each service, dispose of unused product and wipe the dish clean with acetone or a disposable towel. Store dishes covered or in a dust-free location. Did you know? Pay close attention to how you dip the brush into the monomer liquid and wipe it on the edge of the Dappen dish to remove the excess liquid. If you dip your brush the same way every time, wipe the same way every time, and pick up your polymer powder the same way every time, your beads will be more uniform. This will help your applications to improve, and your nails will become more consistent. Nail brush. The best nail brush to use for liquid and powder enhancements is a natural hairbrush composed of Koloski, sable, or a blend of both. These brushes are oval, round, or square and come in a variety of sizes. The most commonly used brush for monomer liquid or polymer powder is a number 8 oval brush. Figure 11-3 says various sizes of Kolinsky, sable, and blended brushes used for applying liquid and powder nail enhancements, and it has a picture of several brushes. Synthetic and less expensive brushes do not pick up enough monomer liquid and do not release the liquid properly. Choose the brush shape and size with which you feel the most comfortable. Avoid overly large brushes, sizes 12 to 16, since they can hold excessive amounts of liquid and under the mix ratio of the powder and liquid. And alter. What? I'm just replacing words today. Let's back it up a little bit. I apologize. Avoid overly large brushes, size 12 to 16, since they can hold excessive amounts of liquid and alter the mix ratio of the powder and liquid. Though, yeah, I messed up on purpose, so you'd remember that forever and ever. You're welcome. Their large size also allows the brush to touch the skin during application, which can overexpose your client to monomer. Touching the client's skin repeatedly with monomer may increase the risk of developing skin irritation or sensitivities. During the process of creating liquid and powder enhancements, the product can stick to the hairs of the brush. Be sure to have a lint-free, disposable towel to wipe away product sticking to your brush. It's important that when the product starts to stick to your brush, you wipe your brush clean, re-wet with monomer, wipe away excess liquid on the towel, and then go back to the product on the nail. If you do not clean your brush consistently during the application, product will build up and your brush consistency during the application, blah, blah, blah. I did it again. If you do not clean your brush consistently during the application, product will build up and cure inside the brush, rendering the brush not usable. And that is very important information. Okay, a good brush can be expensive, so be sure to care for your brush during the application as well as after use. Avoid wiping your brush rapidly back and forth against a table towel. This compresses the hairs against the sharp edge of the metal ferrule and cut them off. Instead, wipe in one direction, pulling the brush along the towel. If product does harden on the hairs, soak the brush in acetone for no longer than 3 to 5 minutes and use a wooden stick to gently scrape the product off the hairs of the brush. After every use or cleaning, dip the brush in monomer and bring the brush to a sharp point before storing. Use a brush cover to protect the hairs from bending or contamination. Activity. Create the perfect bead. To create the perfect bead, you will need the following items: pen and paper, plastic sheet protector, lint-free table towel, 2 Dappen dishes filled with pink polymer powder and monomer, and a nail brush. Number 1. Draw 6 to 10 small circles that are each a little smaller than a dime. Insert the paper into the sheet protector. This will be your practice sheet for placing your beads. 2. Dip your nail brush into the monomer and gently wipe the edge of the brush on the sides of the dish. Press the brush into the powder. Count to 2 and pull the brush out. How big is your bead? If it's round and shiny, it's perfect. If it has dried powder around it, you will need to leave more liquid in your brush. If it drips off the end of your brush, it's too wet and you should press out more liquid next time. 3. Place the bead down inside the circle. Does it run? Does it fill the circle or run outside the circle? If it stays slightly firm and spreads to only fill the circle, it's perfect. Number 4. Try step 2 again, but this time count to 3 to pick up more powder. Practice this over and over until you create the perfect bead. Storing and disposing of monomer liquid and polymer powder products. Store liquid products separate from dry products such as powders. All products should be stored in covered containers and kept in a cool, dark area. Do not store products near heat. After a service, you must discard used materials. Never save used monomer liquid that has been removed from the original container. Use on one client only. To dispose of a small amount of leftover monomer liquid, carefully pour it into a very absorbent paper towel and then place it in a plastic bag. Avoid skin contact with the monomer liquid and never pour it directly into the plastic bag. Should skin contact occur, wash hands with liquid soap and water. After all used materials have been collected, seal them in a plastic bag and discard the bag in a closed waste receptacle. It is important to remove all items soiled with enhancement products from your manicuring station after each client. This will help maintain the quality of the air in your salon or spa. Dispose of these items according to local rules and regulations. Check-in. What particular supplies are needed for a liquid powder, for a liquid and powder nail enhancement service? How should you store your liquid and powder supplies? What are abrasives? What type of nail brush should you use for liquid and powder nail enhancements? Activity: create 3 nails. To determine whether you have done the best possible job to ensure smooth, balanced, and symmetrical nails, and that all nails are consistent, try viewing them from these perspectives. Top view: make sure all the perimeter shapes are consistent. Left side and right side views: look at the profile of each nail. Make sure your apex is consistently located in the correct place and that the apexes match from nail to nail. Also, look at the left side and right side of the nail and make sure the extension's underside matches. Down the center: look at the degrees of C curves. Do they match? Is the thickness of the product consistent and thick enough to withstand wear, or are the nails too thin or thick? From the client's perspective, turn the client's hand around and fold the fingers toward the palm of the hand so you can view the top surface from the client's perspective. Sometimes you can see lumps and bumps from this view that you couldn't see during the application. I hope this was helpful to you. We will continue the Milady Nails book, Chapter 11, Monomer Liquid and Polymer Powder Nail Enhancements, in the next video. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. And check out my other videos. And have a great day. Thanks. Bye.